What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another Marvel Snap video. And today I finally got some Zabu decks for you guys. I wanted to wait before the new card actually came out, before I can actually recommend some decks to you. So Zabu has been out for, I think, what, 2 days now. And I've been able to play with him a little bit in a couple different archetypes, and he's pretty fun. I don't think he's as strong as I initially thought he was, but he is still strong for sure, and he is definitely fun to play. So I got 3 different decks for you, and just keep in mind real quick, these decks are not 100% optimized yet, since it's still pretty early on in the season. I'm sure we're going to see more Zabu lists come up in the meta as we get further along the season, and as well once the official balance patch comes out. But for now, these are what I think is a good template or starting point, or some people use the term shells. These are good starting points for you to go ahead and give you an idea of what to craft with Zabu and mix and match the cards with what fits your playstyle and what cards you have in your collection. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the decks. Now, first up, we have a Zero Zabu deck, and if you know me, you know I love my Zero decks. I actually used a deck with Zero Sandman and Ronin in it to reach Infinite last season. If you're interested in that deck, I'll leave a video to that in the description down below. But as for this deck is pretty interesting. So Zabu, if you're not aware of what his ability is, he is 3 energy for 2 power. Ongoing, your 4 cost cards cost 2 less to a minimum of 1. So we run a lot of 4 cost cards in this deck for that reason. And we have early game tempo in our Sunspot. We have 0 to cancel out the negative effects of cards we don't want, like Atuma and Typhoid Mary. We have Daredevil here to give us information on turn 5 to go ahead and combo with our Spider-Man to potentially lock out our opponent of playing into a lane on the last turn. We have Armor to protect our 1-cost cards as well as our big cards like Atuma. Then we have Crystal. Crystal is actually kind of playable now. Like, Crystal is often regarded as one of the worst cards in Marvel Snap, but Zabu actually makes her kind of playable. So with Zabu on the board, Crystal is essentially a 2/4, and she has an on reveal ability. If this is at the middle location, shuffle your hand into your deck and draw 3 cards. So sometimes we might just not like the hand that we have, or sometimes we might find ourselves running low on cards if we don't draw a Moon Girl or White Queen. So Crystal comes into play and gets us 3 draws. Then we have Moon Girl. Moon Girls is just a good 4-cost option to duplicate our hand to give us more 4-cost cards to play. White Queen is an all-around good 4-cost card for 6 power, pretty good. She's going to give us a copy of the highest cost card in our opponent's hand, not only giving us a card to play, but also giving us information on what our opponent might play. Atuma and Typhoid Mary are really just high value 4-cost cards. If you don't have them, you could probably just play any other high value 4-cost cards, maybe like Jessica Jones or Crossbones. But then at that point, you might want to take out 0, and the deck becomes a little bit different at that point. And then we have America Chavez for consistency, so we can draw our Zabu in more games. And that is the list. This list is a little bit different, still kind of experimenting with it and tweaking with it a little bit, but I think it's definitely a ton of fun. So if you're interested in Zero decks, try this one out. It's a lot of fun, and see what works for you. All right, next up, we got a deck that I'm calling Zoo Zabu. And this is a Zoo deck with a little bit of a discard package with the Strong Guy and the Hell Cow here. So we have a bunch of 1-cost cards: Ant-Man, Squirrel Girl, Sunspot, Nightcrawler, and Titania. Titania is a card I just unlocked recently that I've been experimenting with. If you don't have Titania, you can definitely swap her out for really any other 1-cost card. I had Iceman in that slot before, but she is good to play on the last turn, so you don't activate her ability if you're revealing second. Then we have Armor to protect all our 1-cost cards, and then we have Zabu, and then our 4-cost cards are again Crystal. Then we have Kazar to buff all our 1-cost cards. Then we have Strong Guy. Since we do run a lot of 1-cost cards in this deck, we find ourselves emptying our hand pretty easily, so Strong Guy can get the buff pretty easily. And as well, I like Crystal in this list too, because again, since we find ourselves emptying our hand sometimes, we essentially just draw 3 cards with Crystal, which can be really good. And then we have Hell Cow, which synergizes with Zabu, and as well empties our hand for our Strong Guy's ability to take effect. And then we have Blue Marvel to buff all our cards by 1. So another experimental list with Zabu, but this one is definitely a ton of fun. Titania is definitely replaceable. If you don't have her, you could play Iceman, Korg, really any 1-cost card. Hell Cow is a little bit more difficult to replace. He's really good in this list because not only does he synergize with Zabu because he's 4 cost, but he also synergizes with Strong Guy as well to empty your hand for Strong Guy's ability. But if you don't have Hell Cow, you can maybe put in just another discard card. Maybe you can put in Blade. I had Blade in here before, actually. Blade's not bad since he discards a card. He's 3 power, and he's 1 cost, so he gets buffed by Khazar. So Blade on turn 6 is actually really good in this deck as well. And this deck is a ton of fun. I definitely think there's more potential here to improve it. If you have any suggestions on how to improve this list, let me know in the comments down below. Now, the last list I have for you guys is called Big Cat, Big Dino. Essentially, Zabu goes well with Devil Dinosaur. Why? Because when you play Devil Dinosaur, there's 2 4-cost cards you want to play with him, White Queen and Moon Girl. So Zabu actually makes a lot of sense in this list. Now, Devil Dinosaur, I'm sure you've heard of, you played it, you've seen it before. Nothing particularly new. He gets buffed up by how many cards you have in your hand, and Moon Girl and White Queen help us do that. But we have some spicy options in here. We have Sunspot to go ahead and give us some early game tempo. We have Quinjet to reduce the cost of all cards that didn't start in our deck. So that includes the Sentinels generated by Sentinel, the cards duplicated by Moon Girl, and the card copied from White Queen. So Quinjet is really good in this list. We have Daredevil to give us a little bit more control on turn 5 to pair with our Spider-Man to lock our opponent up playing out on a certain lane on the last turn. We have Armor to protect our 1-cost cards, as well as our Devil Dinosaur. Sentinel's a really good card for just keeping our hand full and having something to play each turn. And then we have Rescue. Rescue is just a good value 4-cost card. On reveal, if you play a card here next turn, plus 5 power, so Rescue can potentially hit 9 power, and it's pretty easy to fulfill her requirement. It just makes your play very predictable for your opponent, which is the downside, and she is susceptible to Shang-Chi. If you don't have Rescue or don't want to play into Shang-Chi range, you could swap her out with something like Jessica Jones, or maybe like Crossbones, Drax, or your girl. Actually, I would not recommend Crystal in this deck because you want your hand to be full, so maybe you can throw in Shang-Chi as well. But yeah, Rescue is just a good value tempo card. And then we have She-Hulk. She-Hulk is really good when we just don't spend a lot of energy. Maybe we find ourselves skipping turns. Maybe we have an awkward hand at times. And sometimes we can even duplicate She-Hulk with Moon Girl, which is really nice. And if you don't have She-Hulk, she is definitely not required either. I would probably just put in America Chavez to help your draws be more consistent. Now, Quinjet is one that I don't really think is replaceable, to be honest with you. It's just like such a unique ability that's really good in this deck. But if you don't have Quinjet, I would probably throw in Agent 13. And if you don't have Daredevil, I would probably throw in Cable. And that is the last list. So something a little bit different. No gameplay for today. I just want to go ahead and show these decks real quick and talk about them for a little bit. If I showed gameplay for all of these decks, this video would be like an hour long, man. It'd be way too long. So I want to keep this one a little bit short for you guys, especially since I already recorded another video earlier today as well. That's a new one for me, 2 videos in one day, right? So let me know what you think about these decks. Are you going to be playing with any of these? Are you going to be changing them up a little bit? Are you liking Zabu so far? And if you haven't already, go ahead and join my Discord server. I'd love to see you there and chat Marvel Snap with you and other community members. The link for it is in the description and down below. And thank you all for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Later.